My name's Airklipz. I'm from Southeast London and I rap. A little insight into my background. My parents are African. Um, I grew up basically between here and Africa, and I ran away from home quite early in my life. So I kind of had let's say, a stint in New York as a teenager, which is where I really got into rap, really. That's really the start of my kind of love affair with rap. Grew up in Lagos, grew up in London with my parents, and then I left home when I was about 15 and basically traveled the world. Yeah, I'd say there was a lot of stuff that affected me becoming an artist. Yeah, it was basically the seeing the world from a very different light when I was young. From like my parents, from being at home, it was more of a sheltered lifestyle, and then seeing everything on the road from a teenage perspective, I think, yeah, that definitely had a very big influence on my whole language of music, of how I communicate. I first ran away from home when I was about 13, and then I went back. And then I ran away again when I was 15. And just basically a very troublesome childhood. Troublesome. I was troublesome. My home wasn't the best. So, yeah, I guess, long story short, leaving was the best option at the time. Yeah, running away from home is definitely one of the reasons hip hop spoke to me. Because I remembered at the time I was really looking for a lot of role models just around me. And like, it was very hard to find decent role models in and around like the people I knew and the people I had in my surroundings, especially like, having run away from home. And hip hop definitely became the strong male voices that I was lacking in my surroundings at the time, for good or for bad as well. There were some maybe not so positive voices, but they were, yeah, where I got a lot of my foundations in morality and a lot of my foundations in just decency, I think, came from that. I generally feel like it's kind of almost a shared trauma that all artists kind of have in hip hop, where I think it's even from the most bubblegum or pop artist in hip hop to the most hardcore depressing artist. I think they all have almost a sense of being wounded to a certain degree. And I think that's what is, in my opinion, the unifying factor through hip hop and through rap has been that almost a sense of like, yeah, sense of unified rebellion or injustice or trauma, or, we all have some form of recovery to make the music kind of heal us with. It says about the world that there's a lot of the same problems going on, but they look different just because they're seen from different perspectives, but they're fundamentally the same issues. Like, I definitely feel for, especially for hip hop, there's a very, maybe lack of a very strong role model, male or maybe even female, strong role model that a lot of hip hop artists and fans seek through the music. And it's probably not the best place to find a role model in the true sense of what you want from a role model, but it's all we have. It's all I had, and it's all a lot of the generations after me have. And so through that, I think picking and choosing the right voices to actually listen to long term is probably the most important thing or choice for a young person at the moment. What problems have I faced as an artist? That's a really good question. There's a lot of problems. Where do we start? The first problem, I think, is accessibility. It's really hard as an upcoming artist, as someone who doesn't have a musical family background. It's very, very hard for a new artist to find a way into the industry. It's just almost like what do you do? There's almost no obvious path to follow other than just keep, rapping and rapping and rapping till someone hears you and then brings you into a studio, and then there's no actual progression path. There's definitely a problem with accessibility. That's the first thing I'd say. And then also there's, after you then get into the industry, I'd then say there's a problem with gatekeeping. I'd say there's almost like a gatekeeping aspect to the industry where people who are semi-successful won't let people who are not successful in, and then people who are really successful won't let the semi-successful people into the club. So there's these like almost gatekeeping. I don't want to say people, but it's almost like clubs of people that you seem to have to either know, or they have to know, like notice you, and if they don't notice you, it seems to, and this seems to be my main issue really. I recorded my first song when I was 16 in a demo. It was a demo studio in Lagos in Nigeria, and I didn't record anything after that for I think maybe another 15 years, and then I recorded another demo in London. Where was that? Somewhere in Ealing, and that was the first time I properly recorded myself, as both of those times. And I think when I first seriously recorded, I first seriously recorded an album with my good friend Robert Blakemore. When we started our record company, Underdog Records, in 2007, 2008. I recorded our first project, London State of Mind, Volume 1. And that was the first, let's say, serious thing I ever did. At that time, the anxiety and the struggle and everything to do with making music was so foreign to me that I didn't know any of the problems that were going to come. So I was so naive going into it that I was fully excited. All I was excited. Every step, every problem just looked like a new. It's like, when you're playing a computer game, like you might die to a boss, but that boss is just a new thing that you have to solve and find a way to beat. And so every single aspect I came up against was not. I never had. I never felt like defeated by it. I always felt, just find a way around this and find a way around that. And I think the excitement lasted for, let me say, good 10 years. Good 10 years of like straight, just naive excitement. And then that faded after a while. And then I kind of got a bit more of a realistic buzz, which I kind of have now, which is just more of a, still excited about everything I do, but then with a more realistic aspect of where you're going to get to. So feeling alone is probably something that I feel every day. And I have a team. I actually have a team that, like, they're not the biggest team, and, it's not the most elaborate operation, but I do have a team. I have people who handle certain parts and aspects of my career, and it's not enough. It's just nowhere near enough. I still feel alone. I still have to tackle so much in terms of I have to be my own secretary, my own PA, my own agent, my own manager, and like I say, there's still other stuff that gets outsourced to other people. But it's really, really hard. And I can't imagine for any artist who's coming in like I came in, who has none of this team, who has just, their own self as a driving force to do absolutely everything. Getting that help, I think, is the most important part of being an artist. It's the part where I think I wish someone had told me a long time ago that just get someone to help you do this and get someone to help you do that and get someone to help you do that, rather than trying to do everything yourself. Because when I started, I tried to do videos, I tried to produce, I tried to master, I tried to do everything. And you cannot be good at everything. It's just impossible. And so it's good to find what you're good at and then find out a way to outsource everything. And that's stuff that people don't tell artists coming in, especially in hip hop, but I think just in general. So the positive stuff that's happened to me has been, I have discovered a love for music, I think, that will endure forever. Because I've had a lot of moments where, like you might take from the interview, that I'm very disillusioned, but I'm not actually as disillusioned as I might sound, because I'm disillusioned with the financial output of what I've got from music, but I'm not at all disillusioned with the amount of music I've been able to make, the amount of musicians I've been able to make music with, and the quality of music and the improvement levels, which is what I think it's all about, really. It's about evolution. It's about getting better and like making better music every day and listening to better music every day. And so with that as a goal, I think I've exceeded most of my expectations in terms of what I do on a daily basis. To change my whole style for the sake of like either monetary gain or fame at this point is just not worth it for me. Because like I said, the journey I've been on has been literally a journey of discovery. Because when I first got into the game, I'll be honest, I got into this game for girls and for money. That's the young me was like, just looking at being someone, and being someone would be to be validated by having a lot of money and having, and then the more I grew up, the more I realized that that was the wrong music I was listening to. That was the wrong message I was being sent. And discovering that, I think, took me along that path where now I'm saying like my whole aim in music has changed so drastically, and like fame and money is not necessarily something I look at and think, oh yeah, this is what I need. I mean, you can look at the examples of a lot of artists who've gone down the route of, just chasing fame and just chasing money. And it doesn't necessarily lead to longevity, or in terms of like listening to their music, like 10 to 15 years later, it doesn't tend to lead to a lot of substance. At the beginning of the year, I set myself a challenge to release a project every month, every single month. So I'm on course to complete that. I have got a project, I've multiple projects in a couple months, if I'm honest. But at the moment, this month, on the 2 days away, I'm releasing the Memorandum of Understanding project with Ilternal Beats. It's a project I've been working on for about 4 years with Ilternal Beats, and yeah, we're really happy to get this one out there. And then next month, I'm having a project with Bad Effects and Bad Effects, Palmer Eldridge, .I, and Zatuichi's Ears, and we're releasing a project as a group called Self-Prescribed, and that should be dropping next month as well. So yeah, there's a lot more coming out over the course of the year. There'll be a project every month from me, and there's multiple videos, and there's multiple stuff on my Spotify, my YouTube, my Instagram. So yeah, there's content everywhere. Van life and vape life. Van life and vape life are I'd say, almost like my tenants at this moment, because I started living in a van in 2019. It's been very hot this year, in fairness. Like this last couple months have been like, yeah, baking. But I've kind of got used to it. I've acclimatized to the fact that, I just day to day exist in a mobile home. It's very fun, in fairness. I still, like now and then, would, stay in a hotel or like stay at a friend's house. And when I do miss my van bed quite a lot, which is weird. And vape life is something I've when did I get into vape life? I think about years ago. Anyway, basically, I think more over 10 years, I've been vaping, and vaping is something that I kind of took a bit personal when I first got into it, because it was just something different, and I just really liked it. I liked the fact that it was different. I used to cycle a lot. I still try and cycle, but I don't cycle as much as I used to. But I used to cycle a lot. And when I cycled, I used to smoke a lot of weed, and my lung capacity was not great. And then when I started vaping, I started to recover some of my lung capacity. And so, yeah, I think that kind of made me a bit of an evangelist for vaping. And I just started to scream it from the rooftops. Made like 5 albums called Vape Life. Well, living in the van was more about, it's a long story, but I'll kind of condense it into, it was more about me almost reaching a crossroads in life where I realized I could go one way or I could go another. And I chose to go the van life way. I had enough money to not live in a van at the time. But I chose to give up everything I had at the time, sell literally everything I had that I couldn't fit in the van, and move into the van. Because I just felt like sustainability going forward, and for what I wanted to do in my life going forward, which was just basically be an artist, travel around. I thought that was the best way going forward, and I have not regretted it. Me as Airklipz, I am an artist that's I'm trying to give people a perspective on growing up as me. So it's almost like a diary of my music. So I've been rapping long enough to listen back to myself and hear from myself what I thought in certain parts of my life and what I've thought to now. And I've always been honest about what I thought and what I say and what I've seen. And I've gone through reasonable amount of stuff from running away and living in Lagos, living in Chicago and New York for a little bit, living in London, Nottingham, living in like various cities and seeing like various aspects of, I'd say, street life and like street culture. And that's what I try and bring into my music. I try and, give you basically a below the surface look on what London was like, or like what New York was like when I was younger, or like, and that's what I try and, it's almost like a news report, but one with music and beats and bars and clever rhymes that you can like, listen to and like zone in, and then like close your eyes and then you're in Southeast London, And so that's, I think you'd get from my music. You can find me everywhere. You have to spell my name right though. It's Airklipz, and you can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. You can find me on places like Wavlake if you're one of the people that you're interested in like alternative ways to listen to music, which I also promote. And yeah, anywhere there is music, you will find lots of mine.